All right, let's work some of these problems here. So what we want to do is we want to work stock pricing problems where dividends aren't available, or we would prefer to use another method of cash flows. Okay, so in the previous video, in the introduction video, basically what we did is we showed you how how we would go about doing this. All right, so we're gonna use the dividend discount model and the dividend growth model, but instead of using dividends, we're gonna use free cash flow to equity holders. All right, so here's a pretty straightforward question. A company just estimated its free cash flow to equity holders to be 105 billion. We assume that these free cash flows will grow at a constant rate of 3.5% per year indefinitely. So we've taken the financial statements this year, we've estimated free cash flow to equity holders to be 105 billion. We assume that going forward, the free cash flows will grow at a constant rate of 3.5% per year indefinitely. What is the total market value of equity if the required rate of return by shareholders is 14.5? Okay, so recall in the previously we would say that the price today is going to be equal to the dividend tomorrow divided by the difference between R minus G. Again, if the cash flows are growing at a constant rate G indefinitely, then instead of the dividend discount model, we can use the dividend growth model. But what we're going to do here is we're going to substitute out the price for the entire market value of equity, and for the dividends, the free cash flow to equity holders in year one. Okay? So this problem becomes pretty straightforward. So we have free cash flow to equity holders in year 0, which is equal to 105. We have free cash flow to equity holders in year 1, which is going to be equal, it's going to be 3.5% greater than 105. So I'm going to say 105 times 1.035, or 1 plus G. Okay, maybe over here what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this equals free cash flow to equity holders in year 0. Hold on. Free cash flow to equity holders in year 0 times 1 plus G divided by the difference between R minus G. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. To get free cash flow to equity holders in year 1, I'm just going to times free cash flow to equity holders in year 0 by 1 plus G and divide that by the difference between R minus G. If I come back over here to Excel, this is the free cash flow to equity holders in the next period. The market value of equity in year 0 is therefore equal to the free cash flow to equity holders in the following year, in year 1, divided by the difference between R minus G, where R is 0.145 and G is 0.035. Okay, so the total market value of equity for this particular firm is going to be equal to 987,955 million. Okay, what does that mean? Again, this is not the price per share, but if I were to go to say Yahoo Finance, I don't want to get on. The market is plummeting, down as low as 12% today. But if I wanted to get on here, let's go to Apple. So Apple is down 9% today. Sorry, I just threw up in my mouth. It's still a $1 trillion company, but just barely. This market cap measure is the market value of equity. It is equal to the price of a stock times the shares outstanding. Likewise, what I just calculated in here is the price times shares outstanding. I calculated the market value of equity, or the firm's market cap. To get the price per share, I have to divide this number by shares outstanding. Okay, we'll do another problem here in just a second.